We are at Wellesley High School in the art rooms. We have Amy, who is our art celebrity teacher, and she's going to tell us about this awesome space.
So about 7.5 years ago, we moved into this building, and in the old building, we were down on the first floor in the loading dock area, and here we've got great light. So the whole art wing, we have skylights, not every room, but 2 of our rooms have skylights, and we have really nice space for all the different things that we do. So in this space here, this is wheel throwing and ceramic sculpture. So we do a lot of hand building. We make functional and non-functional vessels. We make things that are just purely for the sculptural aspect of the creation, and also vessels that are meant with a purpose, such as hot chocolate cups.
And are the glazes in those different, I would presume, for things that can have food put in them?
Yeah, so anything we use only non-toxic, food-safe glazes, and we go through everything with the students, and glaze is all chemistry. So I've met with the science department, and we've talked about how everything from the periodic table, crushed up and pulverized in powdered form, mixed with other raw elements, diluted with water, put under extreme heat of about 2,300 degrees, gives all of our colors. So the kids have quite a variety, and it's really difficult when there's not a right or wrong answer, and sometimes it's a lot of choices. So guided intervention from us.
So you have to remember which sculptural pieces have the crushed up lead.
Well, I
right.
don't do anything with lead.
That's good to know.
Yeah. No.
Awesome. Sounds good. So I see this is open studio today?
This is just an open studio block. So all of the art teachers have different blocks that we open, almost like lab hours. And this is one of mine. So students are just in here working out of directed researches or free blocks.
Awesome. Very cool. And how many kilns do you have in here? The wheels, what are they called there?
I have 16 potter's wheels, 14 of which are assigned for students, and 2 were gifted, so they are here as additional wheels for students that just drop in for stuff like this.
And the oven is in the back?
Yes, the big kilns. I have 3 of them. Would you like to see them?
We certainly would.
So this is loaded right now for a glaze fire, and the glaze fire, this is what gives us all of these great colors. So the best part is this glaze right here is maroon, which is this.
Oh, cool.
So when you look at it on the vessel, it doesn't look like much of anything. Most of the glazes look like an off-white until they have that extreme heat component.
Right. Which would make sense because it's the iron that's oxidizing.
Well, I don't use iron, though.
Oh, there's no iron in it?
No iron.
That is very cool.
Yeah, so we use other raw elements, cobalt, manganese, magnesium, but I don't use anything with iron. Yeah, so no iron, no lead.
That is interesting chemistry.
Yeah. And these kilns, they're loud right now because we do what's called a soak. So we dry things out for about 10 hours at 250 degrees to make sure that I can say almost with certainty we don't have any cracks or explosions in the kiln, because we try our best to make sure that everything, once it comes through the threshold of this doorway, it survives. So I tell the students that they can recycle things once they're out in the classroom, but as soon as they cross the threshold into the kiln room, it better be something that they really love, because I'm not in the business of adding to a landfill. So if they're going to make it and they're going to fire it, it should be something that they're really proud of. And these are in the first firings. Okay. So all of these pieces are drying out right now, ready to go in for that first firing. And then once they come out from the first firing, they're considered bisqueware, and they go here, and then students glaze the vessels, and then it goes in a second time, and then it's food safe. Okay. This is an example of one of our sculptural pieces. So students had to work from a body part, and it had to be either hand and wrist, or nose and ear, or a full foot, or an eye with some portion of the rest of the face. So when I put this into the kiln, I can't put it directly on the shelf, because the component of glass that's in the glaze will fuse the hand to the shelf. So I have to use these pinpricks. So it's like a giant game of Tetris and Jenga, trying to put everything into the kiln. when students make vessels, because of the way our schedule goes, I'm not going to necessarily see them day after day after day, and we don't want their pieces to dry out. So Holly's Cleaners up the road, they graciously gather up all of their plastic from dry cleaning, and I'm like another step in the recycling process. So I go there and I get plastic from them that's been used on clothes. Students wrap it, use it to wrap their vessels to keep everything wet until the next class, and then once that plastic has too much clay on it, then we recycle it.
Very cool.
Yeah. So this glaze chart, it's a big XY axis. So X over Y is different than Y over X. So all of the glazes that I have in large buckets put on top of another glaze is going to give you one combination, but if you do it in reverse, things can change drastically. So when I created all of these tiles, let me find a good one. So for example, when you look at a test tile, I tell the students that you have to look for the texture, and that shows you how much the glaze is going to flow and how much it's going to pull down onto your vessel from gravity. You want to look at what the initials are and what the fraction says. So TM over WS means translucent mint over walnut spice, and the way you would read it aloud would be the way you would apply the glaze. So walnut spice would go first and then translucent mint on top. So if you did this combination in reverse, you're not going to have the same result.
So what would be the result if you didn't in reverse? Oh, very neat.
So this is walnut spice over maroon, and then this is maroon over walnut spice.
Right.
So they have to really make a lot of creative
for the same
choices.
Two glazes, that looks very different.
Yeah,
Right.
and then the glaze by itself
Right.
is also an interesting choice.
Right.
So it's,
cool.
I think the most fun about being in this space is that students have to take a risk.
Right.
They have no idea what to expect, and in a lot of the other areas of high school life, things are told to you, and you go through a prescribed set of steps. And in here, there's certain steps in order to create your work, but then once you have that creation, you take ownership, and it's really fun to coach that.
I'm Sophie, and I'm a junior.
And how long have you been pottering?
Since I was a freshman, third year.
So tell us about the class.
I love it because it's definitely like a creative outlet for me, and I don't know, I've just been here like every day, even on my free blocks, just like creating. So
What is it about the clay that you love?
it's very like, I don't know, it's very relaxing, and it's really cool to see like something go from just like dirt to like a beautiful piece that's like glazed and like ready to be used, or like, you know, as decoration or something. So
And are you an experimental glazer?
I would say glazing's my least favorite part of the process, just because I love throwing and I get so like caught up in the whole throwing process that I have like 1,000 pieces on my shelf that I need to glaze. So,
What's your favorite glaze?
oh gosh, I don't know. Like I love like mint spice. I love the blues, really fun. But then if I want to like tone it down, I love brown slate because you can throw it over anything and it makes it look good. So, yeah.
And what's your latest piece that you're working on?
My latest piece is actually right here. I can unwrap it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's a section thrown piece. So I did it in 3 sections, and I'm adding little handles to it.
Oh, cool. What is
So,
a
yeah.
section thrown piece? Like by parts, and then you fuse everything together?
Yeah, so basically you throw the bottom, and it needs to be like, your walls need to be kind of thick, and then you throw your second piece, and you put it over the first one, and you kind of like merge the seams together, and then you throw it, and so you can make something like really
And
big.
there's 3 sections in there?
Yes.
I can't even see the seams. That's great.
Thank you.
We are in
The metal studio.
the metal studio. Very exciting. That would
Yes.
explain all the pliers.
Yes.
Yes,
So
tell us about what's cool about this space.
in the metal studio, they work a lot with small-scale sculpture. They do wearable jewelry, but they're very clear that this is not a jewelry class. It's a metals room. So Shayla Vines, Miss Vines, does all of the metals classes, and really helps the students to find their own vision through the prompts that she gives in the different assignments.
So those are photos up there, some of the pieces that they've done.
These are some of the Scholastic Art Award winners. All through our hallway,
Right.
the work that's on display, it's all award-winning work from the past. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm Brian Reddy. I teach drawing, painting, and digital art at Wellesley High School. And so this is the art wing, and behind me is the drawing and painting bulletin board. It's usually a collection of recently finished projects from drawing and painting 1 and 2. We do have advanced intensive drawing and painting as well, but we try to have their artwork travel beyond the art wing, and we usually print copies and frame their work and display it around the school. So behind me we have some recently finished self-portraits as skulls. We call them skelfies, done by drawing and painting 1 artists. And then on the other side, we have a real variety of chalk drawings made by drawing and painting 2 artists. Drawing and painting 2 artists start the year by using scratchboard, where they make light marks on a dark surface. And so they take this logic and they also apply it to a drawing of their choice, where they really get to create whatever they want, and they have to use smudging and precise mark making techniques with the chalk.
Wow. I know, those are really pretty. They're very striking.
Yeah, they usually have a lot of contrast, and I think the variety is one of the strengths here, because when we have a project that's a little too limiting, I want to make sure the artists feel like they can create what they're really interested in. So we have some still life, some landscape, some portraits, some abstract pieces. It's a nice little diversity of pieces.
And how long does it take a student to make one of these?
That's the challenging part, is since we're only meeting 3 times a cycle as an elective class, I think each class is approximately an hour. 3 hours is not a long time to spend on a work of art. So approximately these drawings are at least 5 sessions, maybe more. I wish we had more time together. Yeah.
So students come in on study blocks or freeze, and then they...
Yeah, oftentimes they'll pop in on their own, but I do try to manage the class where the expectations do afford for it just to be done in class. But a lot of them find time to stop by, and I think it's really helpful for them to have that space during their schedule. So behind me we have a few larger pieces made by my advanced drawing and painting students. They have a lot of freedom. I'm here to support them as they investigate ideas or topics that are interesting to them. Of course, I try and push them to making art that is a little more technically challenging, but also a little conceptually deeper. And so one painting back there is an appropriation of a Picasso cubism piece, where Picasso depicted a female musician, and the artist Michelle is adapting it to depict a female warrior. It kind of resembles Wonder Woman right now as a cubism piece. And then another painting back there was made by an artist named Bianca, and it depicts kind of an effervescent moment of rest. Figures seem to float in space amongst clouds. I think it's meant to be a really kind of a ephemeral, relaxing piece to view. So I try to provide a variety of experiences and materials for the artists. In drawing and painting 1, they'll start off with pencils, because that's what's familiar to them, and then we'll move on to pastel and colored pencil. After that we go on to acrylic paint, because it's really durable. Then in drawing and painting 2, they'll start off with scratchboard, because it's a different experience. We draw so often with dark marks on a light surface. Scratchboard is light marks on a dark surface. And then they'll make the chalk drawings, and then now they're working with the human figure. And in order to introduce them to watercolor, which can be really tricky to manage, we use watercolor pencils, and then we eventually use watercolor paint. And then the end of the drawing and painting 2 semester is pretty open. I let them either reconnect with materials from drawing and painting 1, or keep using materials from drawing and painting 2. And then in intensive, once they have those like essential 5 or 6 materials, they can investigate them further as they see fit. A lot of intensive students, or I shouldn't say a lot, but a few intensive students that are really into painting enjoy using water-soluble oils, because it allows for longer drying time, so they can get more precise blending and more gentle blending between colors. But everything in the room is non-toxic and safe. I do try to help students work with adaptive materials based on their dexterity. And we do use knives in here to cut, but we have some pretty safe practices in place.
My name is Doug Johnson. I'm one of the art teachers here at Wellesley High School.
And I think the other art teachers think that you have the coolest room.
Oh,
so
really?
I believe that's the word on the street. So tell us about this awesome space.
Yeah. So let's see. Ever since we moved here, I've just been adding to it, just hanging up student work, and then crazy things I find at the dump, things that are often used as props in photo shoots. So yeah, it just keeps getting added to.
Well, what is this right over here?
This is the entrance to the darkroom. So you just spin around.
Very cool.
Yeah, so we're one of the few high schools left that still has a darkroom.
Huh. Right. And then I noticed your terrarium.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, we have a classroom pet. He's also inspiration.
And he's a good photo model.
Yes, he is. He's in many photos, and probably an Instagram star as well. So this is the studio. So they're often doing portrait photo shoots there.
Of each other, or do you have volunteers who come in?
Yeah,
Teachers.
each other. And you'll see, a lot of the portraits that were shot
Right.
here in the studio.
Oh, very nice. So they're back up on the wall over there.
Yep.
Okay.
So anyway, this is the dark room, and so students from all my classes use this to make prints. Just grab
Fishing
one
one out.
right here. Yep. So yeah, so it's like the old-fashioned way of making photographs, and we're really lucky to have it.
Yeah, these kinds of rooms you only see in movies.
Exactly
Yeah,
right,
you have
like
some
old
artist
movies.
who goes in to develop his photos.
There are many photographers that they just use film and do darkroom photography. Film is just different than digital.
Right.
So
It's an art.
it is.
You gotta develop it, then bathe it, and then fix it.
Exactly.
Practice.
There's a lot more creativity that can happen throughout the process instead of just taking a picture, a digital picture, and then,
Letting the
it's
computer
done.
do it for you.
Exactly, and then use Photoshop on it. So we do both color digital photography as well as black and white darkroom photography.
So in today's world, the science world, the art world, the math world, the technology world are all starting to cross over, as they should be, and they really were in the Renaissance, as we know. But today we're finding that we have kids who want to do 3D printing or do printmaking through the CNC router, which is actually in the wood shop or the technology department. So it's great to see. So it's creating a lot more kind of interdisciplinary knowledge.
And what's the story with the hallways? This it looks like a museum.
It is.
For all
Well,
the art.
it is. Well, it's our display case. It's where we get to show off.
It's the Louvre of the high school.
Right, and it's always changing, except for a couple of things. We have this year. We just started our kind of wall of fame up above for anybody who's been in the Globe Scholastics and been honored by them. They're up above. Then. Sometimes we have things from drawing and painting or intensive. Kids sometimes work out here because they need to get back, and we like to show off how that working process goes.
Right.
And then we have just projects going on. Across the hall is a STEM project that we did with astronomy and printmaking, where they were replicating not necessarily by color, but by surface texture of a star or planet or something that they discovered, and it proved to their teacher that they understood how a surface can determine if there's an atmosphere or how old it is, those kind of things. So now we're in the printmaking room, and Wellesley High School is one of the few public high schools in the state that has a standalone printmaking course. Normally it's offered within like painting or drawing, but we've been blessed to have it. It's great space. So we do both the traditional old-fashioned wood cuts, lino cuts, all the way up to new technology where we do solar plates, which is etching, but it's completely non-toxic. We can also do litho, non-toxic wise, which is done on a plastic plate now, and then we also make use of the 3D printer for collagraphs, the CNC router for printmaking. So again, science and technology are reviving a great old art form.
What's the difference between animation, photo, and digital design? Is it the same thing?
Okay, well, photo is a still image,
Uh-huh.
so animation would be to make it move. It's not necessarily photos that move, it can be drawings that move.
Right.
You can now also do those, though, digitally.
Right.
So digital animation, ours is stop motion animation. There's one that's up there.
Yeah.
So we also do digital photography, but that's taught by the photo teacher. And then digital is more learning how to use Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator in a graphic way to create an image that way. Or then go into 3D printing or using it to do the laser cutter for printmaking.
So do students often come to you and say, there's just so many options, what do we choose?
Yes. But more likely we hear, why did I wait till my senior year to take an art class?
Good point.
So don't.